So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the second. Oh, I'll just wait, actually. Let's just wait a few moments. We're a little bit late in joining or starting this webinar. So we'll just wait a few moments until let people start to join.
Nice.
A little bit of confusion on the international time.
Yeah.
How embarrassing. All right, we'll just wait another couple of minutes because I can see people are starting to join.
Nice. So basically, I'm going to show you a few of the works I've done with my Asiga. That I must say that I'm an Asiga lover. I really like the machines and and also the company, because I feel very confident with you guys, also with all the the people involved. I really like the atmosphere, the the communication with you. So
yeah, that's great. Look, we're happy to work with some key people like yourself, Chesco. This is for those that haven't joined a webinar, any of our webinars before, this is our second jewelry webinar where we invite key jewelry manufacturers, digital manufacturers to come on and to share their experiences, basically. And we want this webinar series to be more of an educational platform, something that you can take something away from. So if you've had questions, if you've still got questions that aren't answered in this webinar today, then please use the Q&A section in the webinar or the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end. Chesco will stay on for 10 to 15 minutes after his presentation to answer any questions that you may have. And I realized earlier, Chesco, that we've got two very important webinars happening this week, one this week and one next week. This week is with you, and you are the founder of the Asiga Jewellery Experts Facebook page, which is really fantastic. It's a great forum for our end users to discuss directly with other jewellery users. And then next week, we've got the founder of the Asiga Dental Experts Facebook page. So it's really great that you guys are able to donate some of your time to share your experiences with our technology. So in a moment, I'll hand you over to Chesco, but Chesco has been designing digitally for many years, probably longer than most. He's very familiar with CAD design software for jewelry manufacturing, as well as 3D printing technologies. So it's a real pleasure to have you on tonight, Chesco, and I'm really excited for everyone participating to be able to learn and listen to somebody who's been doing this for a very long time. So again, if you've got any questions for Chesco or for me, then please put them in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and we'll do our best to answer them afterwards. So we are running late now, so Chesco, I'm not going to carry on waffling on, so it's over to you. Thank you once again. And the stage is yours.
Thank you. So I need to show my screen.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. Right. So there you go. Right. So let me first introduce myself. I've been in the jewelry sector for about 25 years. I started as a bench jeweler, but then in 2002, I started working with CAD design, mainly in native Rhino. And the thing is that I started milling, and the first thing I was milling something like 6-7 years. And what I loved about milling was the soft surface, that you could get. And this is something that I was looking for when I started in the printing area. My main concern, and this was about more than 15 years ago, was that having the same surface that I had with the milling machine, with a printing machine, right? And then that was my obsession from the very beginning. So from 10 years ago, I started working with resin printers, but I wasn't pleased enough with the results until I got to Asiga, right? Because with Asiga, I discovered the printing without growing lines. Of course, you're going to have some very tiny growing lines, but you know, in Asiga, the surfaces are so smooth that makes great, you know, working after by hand. And I understand that, you know, for the process of CAD design involves so many things. I mean, you need to have a good CAD design, but then you have to have a very good printer that, you know, has very nice details and also has a very smooth surface. But then the material must cast very well, you know. And finally, you need to have a very good bench jeweler to have a great piece. And, you know, I haven't met yet a jeweler that isn't great itself, you know, somebody that doesn't care about his job, because a jeweler loves his job. Every jeweler in the whole world, all of them, all of us, we love our job. Okay, so I'm going to make my presentation about some work I did with the Asiga and why I love Asiga. One of the things that for me makes great Asiga is the thing that we can use a material called super wax that doesn't have any problem in the casting process, okay? We don't need to use, we don't need to change the investment, we don't need to change the burnout, okay? And then the material doesn't have expansion, so we can make engravings, we can make presets, okay? And they are just going to come pretty good. It's a material that melts, you know, at very low temperature, so the casting is going to be great. Even in platinum, you can cast very well, okay? So it's also very good for signet rings and massive, very big pieces. So these are some of the pieces I did with super wax, right? And as you can see, here we see the, sorry, we see the piece printed and then the final result. Here we can see that, you know, we have a huge signet ring, that it wasn't hollow, you know, so, and these pieces are, you know, difficult to cast when you work with resin. But then here you can see that we get the engravings, we get the whole piece, okay, without much problems on the casting, right? This piece was made in silver. Then, well, these are pieces that are made for stone setting, right? So the thing about a stone setting is that you need to make a prong like a bulb, right? Because when you get the stone, you want to get the stone inside the prongs, okay? And listen, it's kind of a click, right? Then you know that it's well set, okay? And then after that, you're going to cast the pieces, the waxes, with the stone inside, right? Now, the thing is that for that kind of setting, you need to have a very good master, right? And then this customer used to work with silver prototypes. I mean, for the master for making the mold, right? And the thing is that with super wax, we had a very good details, and also the thing is that the casting came superb, right? As you can see, the preset is very nice, and also the casting is excellent, right? You can cast as well with gold. This piece is made with white gold, okay? And as you can see here, we see the casting process. This is the ring in super wax. Super wax is different than other resins because you must take care of the temperature of the chamber, and also it's on a slower resin to print. Okay, so we need kind of 4 hours to build this ring. The nice thing is that it doesn't matter if you print one ring or you print the whole platform, the machine is going to be the same speed, right? I mean, it's not going to take longer. But the very good thing I love is that in any material, the behavior of this super wax is just fantastic. You're not going to have any problem with it. And as I said, one of the worst things when working with resin is when you are working with engraves and also with small details, right? All these engraves are a pain when you're working with any resin because of the expansion of the material. Now, what happens is that in these tiny engraves, the material expands and breaks the investment, okay? And then you will find something very dirty on the engraves and then a hole on another area, okay? Because this investment that has broken, you find it somewhere else. As you can see with super wax, detail is excellent, but also the thing is that we didn't have any expansion, right? And engraves came out super nice, you know, because they were so clean. This is the final piece made in white gold, okay? And this is another example made with super wax. Now here, what I like about this piece is the way we built it. Okay, this was a copy from you know, a piece that was made, and you know, we had to make all this filigrane, this mill grain. Also, we had to do the piece. My jeweler was saying that we had to do in 2 parts, right? And then weld it. And I was like, no. We're going to make it in 1 part, okay? So we're going to cast everything together. Then you can tumble a bit with the magnetic needles if you want to for the inside, but you won't have to weld the 2 parts because they are going to come right. So that's what we did. And the thing is that the setter was so pleased to have such a good surface on the inside, because cleaning this inside is just a pain. Okay, if you get dirty on there, you're going to suffer a lot just cleaning, and the result is going to be poor because you don't have a good starting point, right? So, as I said, this was made in white gold. And then this piece, well, this is one of the my pieces that I love more. Not because it's beautiful or I feel like it's beautiful, but the thing is that the design process, the whole design process took me, many too much work or a lot of work to get what I wanted. But the thing is that now I'm so pleased with the results. And I'm going to explain it a bit. This is the final casting, right? And this is the super wax model. Although you're going to see that I did several tests in many resins, what I had clear enough is that I needed a very good casting. So that's why I used super wax for the final casting, for the final print, right? We have all the preset made, okay? These are all stones of zircons, right? But setting was really, really good. I must say that the setter was brilliant, okay? And I did the setting just consulting the guy. He was a CAD expert as well, and I was saying, look, what do you think? Should we think about doing in another way? What stones would you like? How long do you want the prongs? How thick, etc. This is something I recommend to any CAD designer. Okay, talk with the people you work with. Otherwise, people is not going to be confident with your work, right? And this is the thing. I mean, I started with an idea. I didn't knew what I was going to do exactly. I wanted to, to have, a stone on the center, but then the shank had to go over the finger, right? But I didn't have the idea if I wanted the stones or not. Okay, so I was working on. Every time I did one design, I printed in different resins. Why? Because other resins we have a very good surface as well. We have a very good result. They are more tough, and also I can, put them on, test the stone, and test everything. So that's a part in the process, okay? So as you can see, I did several tests painting also the resins as well. In these ones are a material called Next Dent Ochre. This is a dental material which prints very fast. I think I had the test in something like an hour. These are Blue Cast X10, okay, which has a very nice detail. Also, it's very waxy, and as we will see after, the casting is very good as well. And this is Power Cast Wax, right? So I was doing many tests since I get the results I liked, okay? So I must say that I feel like 3D printing also is very important in the design process of a piece. Right, so I want to show you a little bit more about presets, okay? Because they are so important. They are a big fight between jewelers, CAD designers, and setters. Some people say that they just don't work, okay? Some people say that you must make the piece just with the hollows, right? With the drills, and then lift the setter to make the whole design. Well, I can agree with that, okay? If you don't have a very good print and a very good casting. And this, I feel like it's a very good example about the thing, right? So I'm sorry, I don't have the photos of the casting. So what I did is, print some parts as it was made, okay, in simple, just in silver, just to show you, right? But as you can see here, all the insides and all the surface is so smooth, okay? Here we see the result after finishing. I must say that the heart is made in red gold, and then the rays are made in white gold, and then the shank was a split. And this is something that we do many times if we want to get in all the areas, yes, to polish and prepare everything. So as you can see, the setter also did a great job here cleaning the inside, but the result is excellent. I mean, you wouldn't say that this piece was made by a cat, right? Because, all the process was very integrated, okay? And this is one thing that we must think about when we work on the cat design of a jeweler. It's not a single part. It's not a good printer. It's not a good program. It's the whole process. I mean, the CAD designer must have, some knowledge about the process. You must have a good casting house. You must do, you must have a very good jeweler, and then you must have a very good bench setter, right? And then your results are going to be excellent. Right, this is another one. I love the way that the preset came out. This is white gold, okay? As you can see, the flames of the heart came very, very nice, okay? And that's when you get a very nice detail, right, on Milgrain. Now, what I would like to point is that with Asiga, you have two kind of machines or printers. I mean, all of these pieces are made in a MAX X 35, but then you have two frequencies, 405 and 385. So 405 is the regular one. I mean, many of the printers are going to work on 405, okay, and you're going to have good results, okay. But with a 385 machine, you're going to have sharper details, right, and that affects very well in the preset, okay, because your prongs are going to be sharper. They're going to come up, very strong, detailed, and that's going to affect in the preset later. Right, this is another one, another of my pieces. This is made in silver as well. This is a London blue topaz, and this is the working of the manufacturing process. This is the super wax wax, right? As you can see, the casting just came up excellent. If I don't want to fail, I just printed this material, okay? Because I don't have a casting house. Sorry, I don't cast myself. I need to send all my pieces to a casting house. And then sometimes it's a problem because not all the casting house accept to change their investment and to change the burnout. So that's always a problem working with resins, okay? Because but then if you want a very nice piece, you cannot depend on if your casting is going to be great or not. You must be sure that your casting is going to be great, right? That's why I use mostly super wax for casting purposes. Right, but at the end of the day, you cannot depend always on super wax. And then I use many times other resins. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a bit about other resins that I use with Max printers. Okay, the thing is, I must say that details are sometimes better with a resin, and also the surface are better on a resin than working with super wax. What is good about super wax is that the casting is great, but the details come up better on other resins. And then this piece was made in Supercast HD. It's a huge, it's a massive signet ring, okay, made in white gold with a lot of detail, as you can see. And these are the prints of Supercast HD. This is one of the the best resins for working with an Asiga printer. It's an Asiga resin as well. And the results are pretty nice. But then one of the things that I really like about Asiga is the open code. This means that you can use any resin in the market you like, and Asiga is going to provide you the file for printing with your machine, and that's crazy, because then you can test all the machines in the market. You just have to buy a bottle of resin, you pour it into your printer, and go ahead. You don't have to think about the parameters that you must use. That's crazy. I've never seen that in any other machine, right? And I just love it because, you know, I've been in the research of a good or the best resin for a lot of time. And I've spent a lot of money also in testing resins, right? So one of the first resins I tested is V9 Creator, and this is the yellow one. As you can see, the result comes out very nice, very smooth. But the thing is that always here, you must you must cure the resin after. Then also the resin is toxic. It has some toxics on it. I don't really like to work with toxic resins. Okay, so I'm a little, you know, scared about it. I always use gloves and all the protection, but you know, I don't like to use smelly resin, etc. But at the same time, this resin is mostly used for a lot of people. The casting is really nice, okay, and the results are very good. This was white gold. The resins I use most are non-toxic resins, okay, and resins that I don't need to cure. And here it comes PowerCast wax. So I'm going to show you a few pieces of custom jewelry. Nothing exciting about them, but the thing is that with these pieces, you can have very smooth surface working on a layer of 0.05, right? So in other machines that would be, you know, you would see a lot of layers, but because of the anti-aliasing thing on the Asiga, you see that the surface is really smooth. Okay, so the prongs come up very nice. Okay, and on a 405 machine, on a 0.05 millimeters microns layer, this is going to come in less than an hour, right? So you can print, I can print something like 15 rings in less than an hour. That's fast. It's very fast. This is another example. The surface comes just like polished, and these also affects on the cleaning, right? Because then the cleaning is very, very easy, and you don't have to have a lot of extra metal just to clean it, right? Right, this is Blue Cast X10, another of the resins I really like because, you know, it's kind of waxy and prints very well in the Asiga MAX. And these are the results of the casting. As you can see, casting is very, very nice. So for the insides of the heads, and especially what I like about the printing in resin jewelry is the prongs, because, you know, you can't touch a wire. If you start cleaning on it, you're going to lose the shape of the wire very fast, okay? But with Asiga MAX, you get very smooth surface, and you know, you could go from the casting to the polishing. Right? You see here the results. For me, are very, very good. I really like the results I got. And also, Blue Cast X10 is very nice for details, right? See, they are excellent, is an excellent resin, right? From time to time, I was working with the original material from Blue Cast for Asiga, okay? And one of the best things was the casting. It was really, really nice casting. This is made in silver, okay? But the inside, the piece just came up perfect. And then another resin I use a lot, well, I'm starting to use it because I feel like it's a very good resin as well, is PowerCast Wax Dark. This resin is very tough, okay, but this was a huge bracelet, and these are the pieces that you go like when you print on or when you cast a resin like this, you're always thinking, oof, this is not going to come up great. And the result was very, very nice. Okay, and here I want to show you a tiny video, okay, of this piece I did with PowerCast Dark. Okay, as you see, this is a chain, okay, on the inside. So here you have the casting, okay. So my idea was just to make the chain that I just had to cut the supports, and when you cut the supports, you get the chain with a movement. I think this technique saves us a lot of time when we are working with chains, because all of us know that this is a pain when we do it by hand, okay, and all the movement, etc. So for me, that was a good test. Yeah, and as you can see, the result of the casting was very, very, very good. Again, this is PowerCast Dark, right? Okay, this is another one. This piece took me, you know, a big process to design it, and also to manufacture it. This is an opal, it's yellow gold, right? And the thing is that how I was going to set the opal on the inside without damaging it, right? Well, this took me a big process of designing, right? So I did several tests to make it, to think about how I was going to make it, right? Now, this resin is power cast opaque, okay? So I did something like 10 resins just to test how to set the opal and how to work on the design of the piece, because I wanted to be like a forest, okay? This was for a client that her mother was getting, blind, and she wasn't a sculptor. So he asked me to make a piece that that it should be very beautiful, okay, very nice, but also I was thinking of a piece that she could feel, right? She could touch it. Now, I thought about a little garden, okay, with all the flowers and all the leaves on it, okay, that goes into the opal. As I said, it took me a while to work on the design, on all the process, okay, but at the end, the guy was so pleased about it, because and he said that her mother spent a lot of time, just touching the ring and feeling it. Now, the technical part is that I finally ended splitting the two parts, okay? So I made the ring with a base for the opal, and then all the flower parts came up like a crown, okay, that involved the ring. And we welded these two parts by laser. You see here all the parts, all the crown set. And when everything was polished, when everything was set, we just weld the two parts and it came up like you have seen. Right, another example of power cast opaque. This one is an earring, okay? But the thing is that it's hollow on the inside, right? And our main concern, not only about the design, but because it was, one of these hard designs that you need to get the best of you, but we split the two parts just to be able to polish all the sets, right? Then we did the preset, but as it was burnished, we didn't need prongs, etc. Okay, and it was made in red gold. Okay, this is a nice one as well. This resin is power cast wax. We needed a very good result with prongs, and the thing is that there were a few things about how to print this part, right? We did several tests on the position just to get less supports. And because of the casting, I decided to make, a whole ring involving the the upper part. Okay, and because it was a huge piece, we decided also to split the ring in two parts because we wanted to polish the insides, right? Now you're going to see the casting part. This is white gold, okay? And here is what I told you before. We really need, when we work with heads, we need a very smooth surface and very good casting. Otherwise, we're not going to get a good result. And this was a very important piece. This is the final piece, and the thing is that as you can see, the inside, I mean, the jewelry here made a very good work because of all the cleaning, right? But they also didn't have any problem with the setting. I mean, they didn't have any problem with the tolerance of the stones, etc. So that's thanks also to the Asiga printer, okay? Because you need to have a good tolerance on the or a good stability to print this kind of pieces. Right. So finally, I would like to talk to you about resins that can be vulcanized, that you can make a mold on them. This is, we have plus gray in Asiga, which I really like. But then we have another one called excellent gray that comes from our friend Stefan Weiss in Asiga Europe in Erfurt. It's an excellent resin. You have a very good details. You have very good, surface. And this is very good also for testing. As you're going to see, details in this resin are absolutely brilliant. And if you work with a MAX X 385 machine, you're going to have sharper details. So for those you guys that are working on metals and you need a very detailed work, or you're working in micro sculpture, your choice is going to be MAX X 385, okay? And for the last one, I'm showing you this this print. This was made flat onto the platform, okay? But I just love the way that all the details came up. This is printed in an excellent way as well, and it's on the layer was 0.015. Okay, as you can see, no grow lines at all, and the details are just excellent. We cannot see it, but there are some eyes drawn on it, so it's just great. Okay, and that was it. So well, it's I think it's time if you have any question.
Thanks for that, Chesco. That's great. I'll just quickly share my screen just to put that on. I've got your details coming up shortly as well for those that would like to get in contact with Chesco after this. So there are some questions. Let me just bring them up now. So one was just regarding super wax. What layer thickness do you normally print at when you're printing in super wax?
If I'm doing custom designs, if I'm doing a regular ring without any detail, 0.05. If I'm doing presets, I'm doing 0.035. The reason I use 0.035 and not 0.025 is a question of time. The thing is that you must, if you work with 0.05 and you are on a 4-hour print, then if you double it, you will have double time. So it will be 8 hours print. It's not only a question of the time that you're spending on printing, but also is a question of the temperature you may have on your room. Okay, so that's one thing that you must pay attention.
And with the temperature in the room, do you the super wax comes with a processing guide and instructions for use, and explains how to make sure that the operating temperature in the printer is set to a certain set point. So temperature is an important factor when printing with super wax. I've got some other questions have come up on social media as well. So which resin do you normally use for casting platinum?
Super wax, always.
Okay, and I suppose there isn't a question here about gold and silver, but there is a question actually. Is there a rule when selecting a suitable resin? So when do you choose? I presume that's when do you choose one resin over another resin? I think your slide sort of indicated that if you were going to do something quite heavy or larger components, or something with filigree or detail and texture, you select materials based on the design.
It's based on experience, but as I said before, it will depend on the material to have a better surface or a better detail, right? The ones that come up more rigid have more detail, but sometimes they are not the best to cast. So I would say that the ones that cast better are tougher to print on it, okay? But then again, as I said, my preferred one is a power cast wax for the whole thing, but you cannot make engravings on that resin, right? Because they're not going to come up nice. So if I want to have a good casting, there's no other choice. Super wax, right? I mean, always without changing investment and without changing the burnout process. Okay.
I suppose that's been the challenge. Well, we've had that challenge since we began. So we launched our first product to the jewelry industry in 2012. We actually launched in 2011 our first 3D printer, but in 2012 we went to JCK in Las Vegas in the US, and the big conversation then, and it still is today, is all around castability of 3D printing materials, and it's a very challenging it's a challenge.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that from an engineering perspective with our chemists, to find a material that works across as many applications in jewelry, to cover as many different types of geometry and jewelry designs as possible, plus to integrate with existing casting processes. I think we all know that wherever we're based, one casting company will be casting slightly different to another casting company. They'll have different burnout processes, likewise to the individuals that are casting in their own studios. So there's not one solution that fits all, unfortunately, and I think that's become a reality for us. We were chasing after that silver bullet or that perfect scenario from day one, and it's been we've realized that it's not as simple as that. So we do now. Asiga has 3 casting materials: so Supercast V3, Supercast HD, and Super Wax. They're all very different. We've actually got a new material. We were hoping to launch it this week. It's going to be launched next week now, called Supercast X. And
I love it.
Yeah, and that is going to become. We believe we've covered a range of applications, and by applications, all I refer to is different designs and different geometries in the jewelry space. You know, so from rings to bangles to filigree detail to really fine prongs or claws to text to engraving to, you know, all the different types of jewelry geometries. Really, we feel that we've got a really good, robust all-round material. So Supercast X, I've actually got let me bring up a slide I'll show you what that looks like. So that'll be available next week. We're just optimizing some of the printing settings at the moment, but we've been through so many different tests, but we need to make sure that everything is ready before we launch that into our material library online. And that's with all of our compatible material profiles. We put a lot of energy and resources into making sure that they are plug and play, like you mentioned earlier, Chesco, about the being ready to go. There's another question come in: which resin has the lowest expansion? And they're saying that we cannot use wax.
Supercast,
so which resin?
Supercast X.
Yeah.
Yes, I've tested this material, and it's great. It's, I mean, when it comes up out of the printer, the surface is very smooth. Okay, but then I did a test with presets, and I did the test with engravings, and the results is very good. It's very good. Yeah, so this is the one. I need to make more tests, because when I like when I say something that it's very good, I like to have tested a lot. So I need to test more. Definitely, I think this is the resin I'm going to use from now. Yeah.
That's good. And there's been a lot of development in that material. It's been a few years actually in the making. So we've not brought a jewelry casting material out since 2000, and I think Super Wax we launched in 2015 from memory. So that's been on the market for about 5 years now. It was the first wax 3D printing polymer, not polymer, but like 3D printing wax on a DLP system. So Supercast X has been in the making for a long time. And yeah, we've done hundreds of casts now with this material, so we're pretty happy. And I'm glad, Chesco, that we know that you've been testing it, so we're happy to hear that you feel the same. Asiga, we never launch products based on marketing, really. We launch products based on the engineering merit. So we put a lot of time and effort into making sure that the product, the hardware, so the 3D printer itself, is stable and is suitable for the application. Likewise for the resin. So we only really release things when we're happy, ultimately. There's another question here. So there's one which is Super Wax. How does it cast compared to other materials? I think you've spoken enough about that, so we won't answer that one. In the Max X, there's another question. In the Max X series, which model do you recommend? The X27, X35, or X43?
I mean, I own a Max X35 because sometimes I do things that are not jewelry related, but I can see that with a Max X43, you get very nice details, and you get a bigger area to print. So if you get a Max X 43, you get something like 8 centimeters for per 4.5, and then a tall 7.5. That's big enough to make some a bangle, right? And this is something that you're going to to waste if you're using a Max X 35, right? And it has no for jewelry. I don't think it has any, you know, to have a Max X 27 doesn't have any point. So
no, we get asked that quite a bit actually, and whilst that question's come up, I'd like to just add a couple of comments there. With jewelry casting, the granular size and investment, so the investment powder itself is around 33, 35 microns. So having a pixel size below that, you lose the detail and the definition once you go through the casting process. The reason we have an X27 in our series is that Asiga manufactures 3D printers for many different industries, and the X27 goes primarily into microfluidic manufacturing, or some other maybe some material research facilities around the world. So where pixel size is critical for making very small, fine channels within an object. And you can, if you're unsure as to what microfluidics is and what the purpose of that is, you can see some case studies on the Asiga website under industries. So we recommend the X35 as Chesco is using, and the X43 for jewelry. I've brought up a slide which shows you a comparison between the two build sizes. Really, ultimately, if you have a requirement that you'd be able to get sufficient productivity out of an X35, then we recommend an X35. If you feel that from time to time your volume would increase and you'd need that extra build size, then the X43. I think typically between those two models, you will see a phenomenal level of detail, accuracy, and surface smoothness. So it really comes under a loop. You'll pick the differences slightly, but both of those are used quite widely in jewelry manufacturing. The other system that sits alongside those is in our new Pro 4K series, specifically our Pro 4K 65. Now that has a mode on it called 4K mode, which reduces the pixel size to 46 microns. So it's slightly bigger than the X43 in pixel size, but all that really does to the object is it will just increase the visibility of digitization on the surface of the part. You can still print in all the layer thicknesses that you need to print out for jewelry, but it's to suit the volume user really. So that is the resolution even out of our Pro 4K 65 in 4K mode is phenomenal.
you're going to
so
get
those are the three systems. Yeah.
You're even if you work with a Pro 4K, you're going to get very smooth surface, and if you're doing custom jewelry, it's perfect. I mean, you don't have any problem with it. Sometimes I have been asked about, and I think that people doesn't make the difference between, or some people doesn't make the difference between having a smooth surface and having a good detail. Okay, so when people want, nice prongs, they think that they need a very good detail. That's not like that. With all the Asiga printers, you're going to have very smooth surface, and for custom jewelry, that's what it counts. So Pro 4K, working on a 4K mode with 47 microns, is just perfect for jewelry. Yeah, and it has a huge platform.
Yeah, it sure does. As you can see the difference there, you can fit multiple Max X's inside of that system. So let me just check if there's any other questions that have come in. Chesco, just I have a question for you.
Sure.
When you're designing, I know you've been doing this for a long time, but you're using, clearly you're using matrix because you've got a big banner behind you. But you use that, you use matrix for a reason. You know, you've been doing this for a long time. You've selected the products that give you the best performance.
Yeah.
How does that compare to other jewelry design software packages on the market today?
Well, the thing is that I'm not only a CAD modeler, I'm also a teacher, and I've been teaching for 10 years ago. So I started working with native Rhino, making simple stuff. And then I started to work with Rhino Gold, something like 10 years ago. Just because it added some techniques, some tools I needed working on native Rhino. Now, the thing with Matrix Gold is that adds the parametric part, the parametric tools for designing jewelry that makes it much easier. So as I told you, I've been teaching for 10 years, mostly Rhino and Rhino Gold. And, you know, what I've seen in my students is that they could learn in about 1 year to have a good experience with the software. What I see in Matrix Gold is that it's much quicker and much faster. Everything is, you know, more natural, and the learning curve is shorter with the people. What I'm seeing with the people I'm teaching is that in a, you know, 2 or 3 months they can do pieces that would take them much longer to make it in native Rhino. So at the end of the day, I would say it's much easy and fast to work with a specific jewelry CAD design program.
Okay, thanks. A question on Facebook is for polishing. How do you polish? Do you recommend, or do you? Obviously, there's the traditional way, which is hand polishing. There's also new technologies around polishing, like electropolishing and using automated polishing systems. What do you recommend? What do you use? So the question actually is, it says question for polishing: old school or anything like? Is it Delight or? Yeah, I mean, Delight. It's the well, electropolishing system.
Yes. I mean, if you have a good jeweler, what you're going to go is to split the piece in parts. Okay, so he can go on the insides very well. That's making it in the traditional way. I'm not going to say that's a bad way, because it's not. The only thing is that you must split your parts, as we have seen on the presentation. But for me, I think that we need to go farther, but because of the economical part, and that's why we are using 3D printers for jewelry, because of the economy. I mean, we are making pieces faster and with better results than if we would do it by hand. And after all, cheaper. So if you must go cheaper, you need to work with technology. So I would say for the insides of the basket, if you have a very good casting, you can go to electropolishing. And there is a machine, I don't know it's it polishes with chemist, right? It's like a plastic on it, and then gets on the inside, and then your prongs are going to come absolutely great, okay, without having to polish yourself. And that's the main difference, okay, for a good job made in a 3D printer or something that is not what you would like. So I would say electropolishing.
Okay, great. Well, if you've got any more questions, viewers, then please fire them in. I'll start to wrap this up. I think, Chesco. There's none that have come in now. If they come in before we end, we'll try and answer them. I'd just like to say a big thank you again to Chesco for donating his time. I do apologize again for the late start, and I thank everyone for attending this webinar. But Chesco, it's been really interesting listening to your, how you use different materials for different geometries, for different applications. It's clear that you've been doing this a long time, and it's really valuable, I'm sure. And hopefully next year we can do another webinar with you on time.
Thank you so much.
So thank you very much for your time tonight. For those who are interested in, actually, I'll go back to that slide. For those who are interested in learning more from Chesco, then you can find Chesco on social media. You can just type in Chesco or Studio Chesco, and Chesco's website is also up there. I'm sure that Chesco will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Sure.
For those who are interested in following Asiga, and we've got a number of different channels where you can connect with us or you can follow us. So we're active on the normal social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram. We're on LinkedIn. We've got a YouTube channel. There's Twitter. And you can also join our newsletter. So really, that is a wrap. Thank you again for watching, everybody. We wish you well, and please keep healthy. Wash your hands. Wear a mask if you're in a country that requires that. And we'll see you on our next webinar, which we will put an announcement out soon. So again, Chesco, I can't thank you enough. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right. Thank you very much.